How can I help you?
First of all, thanks for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I've been following you on Facebook group and on YouTube, and I've been wanting to ask you. I feel like I'm pretty good at analyzing the properties and running the numbers and spreadsheets, and have a background on that. But my problem is rehabbing. I don't have a lot of connections. I don't really know a lot of people that are doing what I'm trying to do. And my question is, when you go to a property, what do you look, what type of things are you looking once you go into the property, like foundation, like what are the main things that you're looking at? Because like in that part of the business, I have no clue what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's a tough part of the business. It's a great question. Do you have any rental properties right now?
So I just bought my first one 4 months ago, 1,000. I'm currently living in it. My strategy was thinking, okay, I'm going to live on this one for a year, and then next year I'll get another one and then move to that one and then rent this one out. But so far we love it, so I think we're going to stay here. So yeah, I'm looking into these other part of town. It's called Rogers Forge,
Uh-huh.
and I'm gonna I'm thinking in January I'm gonna buy, my first rental property.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people start out like that. Totally fine to live in it and then move, or hey, you just love it so much so you don't move. That's a double win right there. The rehab for you not having done rehabs is always going to be a little bit challenging because you don't know what you don't know. So you can't, you can read a book, you can do as much as you can, but until you start doing it, a lot of that knowledge, even the knowledge for the course that I just put out, you'll be able to absorb a lot of it. So that knowledge is good. You should do the knowledge, but some of it won't hit until you're in the middle and go, oh, this is why Dave says this. I got
Right.
it now. And so you'll hear it and it will make sense. But sometimes, at least this is at least my experience, where you read and you're like, okay, it makes sense, blah, blah. And then maybe you do it your own way. And then it messes up and then it clicks and you go,
Right.
that's why he said that. For rehabs in general,
Hmm.
I think we get really caught up on the complexity. So I'm going to answer your question in a bunch of different ways, but we get really caught up on complexity. We want it to be all perfect. We want to have everything. Like, I got to know how many outlets I'm replacing. I got to know how many lights I got to know everything. You're never, even if you're the most detailed oriented person, if it's a big rehab, you're never going to be able to write all that stuff down. Or if you did, I think even if you spent forever doing all of it and making it perfect, you're always going to miss something. I mean, so perfect is the enemy of good. So you just want to do it at a good level and always know that something might go be a little bit off. Like, hey, I estimated 35,000, I did 37,000. That's a win. That's a good. And so a lot of times when I come in, and I've done so many different townhouses, so I kind of know, and I don't get really caught up in the numbers anymore. I say like, hey, it was really weird. Every single townhouse that we renovate, it's like 35K. I was like, it's like 35K, it's 35K. I'm thinking it's 20K, it's 35K. I'm thinking it's 45K, it's 35K. And so you kind of, there's like a baseline of how much things normally cost. And I have a video that, you just kind of take the square footage of a building and you just times, by different numbers. If it's a small rehab, if it's a medium rehab, or if it's a full gut. And then in addition to that, as you gain experience, you're going to start to know how much you're going to start to know how much things cost. And so I have what's called not a materials list, a price list. And a price list has all these different things, whether it's how much like square feet of carpet cost, or how much a square of roof cost, or how much to redo like layers of bricks. If it's one level, it's, $6,000 or $8,000 per like level that you go up, depending on how many levels you're doing. And so you start to understand what those costs are. But even me understanding those costs, I'll have to go back because there's things that I don't do very often. Like, I don't re-brick an entire side of my house each time. So I'm just going to forget. And I'm going to go back to that sheet and go, okay, how much is this? Okay. And then I have a baseline of how much things cost. I might be going off on a tangent here, but so With that said, if I go into a new property, I'm looking for the biggest items. And those are the things that I'm concerned with. So I'm not concerned of all the little nitty gritty. Hey, I'm not concerned that I got to replace switches and outlets. That doesn't even factor in. I know that is super cheap. You know, if I had to do it and come in and replace switches and outlets, I could do it in a day. So I don't even factor that in. But there are big items. You definitely want to know if you're going to have a foundation issue, and you need to know what to look for. And a lot of times that's going to be found in the basement, and it's going to be cracking in the walls, or it's going to be sloping in the floors. So you're going to walk through a property and go, huh, these floors are kind of sloped. And so that should be like, there's some things that should throw off some red flags. HVAC units can be super expensive. Let's say you have radiator heat and I don't have any radiator heat in any of my properties, just because I just have always felt like people would rather have central AC, and that's what I would want if I'd sell the property. And so if you're going to have to reduct a house and do the HVAC, it's going to be expensive. So you want to know what those major things are that go, okay, this house is in pretty good condition, but I do see if I got to do central AC, that's going to add 15K. And that's something you don't want to miss. That comes with experience of like what those major items are. I can just walk through a property because I've done it for so long, and it's super easy for me to go, okay, bang, bang, bang. All right, I know. Flooring is going to be a really big cost that probably people underestimate. Hot water heaters are not really that expensive, so it's not really a huge cost. I mean, the tops you're going to spend like $1,500, and so anything under 15 or less, it's not going to move the needle. Like, it's not going to make or break the deal. Where $15,000 central HVAC, that will break your numbers if you're like, oh dang, now I only make $5,000. This property kind of sucks, and I spent a lot of effort. And so it's knowing what those major things are to look for. But you're always going to be nervous for the first, couple. You just don't want to miss those big items. But a lot of like those repairs are rational things. Like, you're going to go into a property and realize like, something's wrong here. And it just means that you need to stop and be like, is this one of those big items that Dave's talking about? And so, yeah, I mean, electrical panels can be big items if you have to rewire an entire property. A big thing that I'll look for like, if somebody did a crappy repair, crappy renovation, I can just tell like, okay, whoever did this renovation didn't know what they were doing, whether it was the contractor or it was the homeowner. And then it goes, I probably need to be super conservative and think that they just jacked everything up, even that I can't see. And so that's something that if you do one thing wrong, you could do everything wrong. And so you kind of have to be a little bit more conservative, or you have to have an inspector come in or something else. There's like safety gaps you can protect yourself, or you can kind of start prying into their work a little bit.
That's one of my fears, because, I don't have a lot of experience in the rehab part of it. So if I hire a contractor, how do I know that he's telling me the right things? How do I know if he's, all these things? That's one of my big fears. Another question, like, how do you get to all these good contractors? Because I've heard a lot of terrible stories and this and that.
I've got to hop on a call at 12:10 with somebody else, JD. But I would say I highly recommend, if you didn't purchase my course, I highly recommend you purchase it. Okay, cool. Go through it. That's going to help you a ton. That's going to like shorten your learning curve a ton. And go through that middle section is all about finding contractors and dealing with them.
Awesome.
I spent so much time and effort on that. It's a very valuable tool, and that should help you get over some of those hurdles. But realize everybody has those challenges. So
perfect. Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, you can always, I mean, if there's opening in the next month, feel free to book another phone call. I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you too, and keep doing YouTubes, because you're really helping a lot of people out there.
Thanks, JD. I appreciate that, brother.
Have a good one.
All right, bye.